Monolith Soft continues its reign to build potentially one of the most impressive RPGs in the future with what they've announced recently on their website. We're going to talk about that and how it impacts the Nintendo Switch 2 and their huge game that they have been working on hard now for multiple years at this point. We've got a big potential reveal for a brand new NieR game in addition to some other Nintendo Switch 2 content with GameCube games and a PSA or error that's happening with the most recent updates. Let's go ahead and first start off with what you guys are all here for, and that is Monolith Soft. What is happening with this studio? What is going on with what they're doing? And I've reported on multiple different hirings and their new RPG, but guys, I can tell you something right now. Things are ramping up considerably. Monolith Soft is looking to do something, in my opinion, that we probably have not seen before from a Nintendo game when it comes to the RPG realm. I do feel that with the bump up in power, which I talked about this in a previous video, that Monolith Soft is going to be ready to unleash their best on the Nintendo Switch 2. For years, actually decades at this point, Monolith Soft has always been a little bit held back, a little bit reserved from some of what they've been dealing with Nintendo hardware. Now, they've maximized and made the best that they can possibly do and have done things that no other developers can do on the platform, but I do think that now that they actually have a system considerably better than anything that they've ever worked on when it comes to the Wii or the Nintendo DS back in the day or the Wii U and the Nintendo Switch, you're going to see something incredible. And what does all of that take? Well, time, obviously money, which they're going to have, but it takes developers, and that's what's exciting and important here for their next big Nintendo Switch 2 project. Shoutouts to my man Stealth. He put out this on Twitter. I completely missed it, but he's always on top of these things. So Monolith Soft is currently actively hiring for 20 plus different positions. Goodness gracious, that is awesome. They reported that they had 299 employees at the end of 2024, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's past 300 now. Many developers are struggling, but Monolith Soft is in growth mode. And for those who don't know, Nintendo wholly owns, not at this point, 100% of Monolith Soft. I think before it was like at 90 something percent overall. It was like at 70, then 90. Now it's 100% overall. So they are a first party studio. So Nintendo does bankroll and fund them, but they still have their separate operations in terms of their own president and how they operate. But Nintendo does own them as a subsidiary wholly of them. So I do feel that obviously Nintendo is going to be supplying them with the resources and what they need to make sure that they can get what they need for their projects. Because remember, Monolith Soft is just not Xenoblade. Monolith Soft also has big hands in other big Nintendo Switch first-party games or Nintendo first-party games. So for example, Splatoon, Animal Crossing, and The Legend of Zelda. They've been working on those games for a decade plus, all the way back in the Wii era. They were working on games, the 3DS as well. Obviously games like Splatoon, they've helped there. They've helped with Animal Crossing. So they've been around the block, and they have multiple studios that are auxiliary units that help out. Then the Takahashi Team 1. And I think that they're really hiring for multiple different places, not just all Takahashi Team 1 with the next big RPG, but I'm pretty sure some of these people will be on that brand new RPG as they ramp up development and get more in tune with what they're going to be doing on the Nintendo Switch 2. Now listen guys, this is brand new hardware, much stronger, much more development capabilities and capacities. You're going to need the right people in order to get it done. What you don't want is to be understaffed or to not have enough in order to get your vision of what you're trying to do from the creators out there. And that's exactly why Monolith Soft has been hiring and has been getting the best to work there. One of the interesting things about Monolith Soft is that they recently stated that other developers call them to ask them how they're so efficient and how they've been able to do what they've been able to do over the last number of years, cranking out great games, but then also not having super high turnover or people getting burnt out. So people have called them and asked them about that. It is a desirable place to work. So I think that 20 different spots, positions that are open, those are going to be filled very quickly. The pay is pretty good as well. And of course, you've got something exciting to work on with big Nintendo titles, like probably the next Splatoon or the next Animal Crossing or the next Zelda. And of course, the next major big Xeno game or next major major RPG that Monolith Soft is working on. And we haven't heard any horror stories coming out from Monolith Soft in terms of them treating employees wrong or the pay or anything like that. So it's going to be pretty desirable overall, and I cannot wait to see what they have cooking for us. But I also can't wait to see what the people that are unsubscribed have cooking here as they hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and click that notification bell to get my vids as soon as they drop them. Let's go ahead and jump into the next topic here, and it's another massive RPG from Japan, because it looks like there's going to be a brand new NieR game in the works with the original core team. So NieR Automata, one of the best games that came out last generation or so, with a Nintendo Switch port as well, but originally released on the PlayStation 4 in addition to the Xbox a bit later, and of course PC. It's a fantastic game with a legendary character with 2B and the other characters in the game that has a bunch of different endings, great fast action gameplay, RPG elements, huge world to explore, great story, great music, great graphics. NieR Automata is fantastic, and it looks like they're finally going to be working, or more like they've been working on something, because NieR Automata came out all the way back in 2017. It has been a solid 8 years since the original game, but it looks like there could be something new in the works here. So speaking to Famitsu, NieR series producer Yusuke Saito confirmed that the original NieR members Yoko Taro, Kenichi Okabe, and Takehisa Tura are currently hard at work developing an unannounced project that might or might not be NieR. So that's very interesting here. Now, the one thing about this is that we recently got information that Mr. Takehisa Tura, for those who don't know, if you don't remember his name, he was the main person behind Astral Chain, and that is one of my favorite games of all time. He is now confirmed that he's created his own game studio, so this could be one of the projects that he is in line working with, along with Mr. Taro and Okabe as well. And if he's on the case with Taro and Okabe, I'm telling you, this NieR game could be incredible, and I would expect it to be on PlayStation, Xbox, PC, and the Nintendo Switch 2 as well, especially if Takehisa Tura is joining on and looking at the current demographics of what is happening, or more like the landscape of what is happening in Japan. The original NieR release, it actually made sense in terms of what they were going for, to be on PlayStation 4 only at the time back in 2017. PS4 was the system to go with, and of course worldwide, but things are absolutely different now at this point. So I wouldn't be surprised if this was a multi-platform release, especially because Square Enix will be handling the publishing here, and we know what Square Enix had to say about AAA releases and moving over towards those. So I do think that it will be a multi-platform game, and I do think that there will be a new NieR game, and it's going to get done. They've probably already been working on it for a bit of time now at this point, and maybe we see something within the next year or two of the game actually at a big presentation or something like that. But yeah, NieR Automata is great, and I'm pretty sure if they've got these people working on it along with other developers that are under their wing, it's going to be a fantastic follow-up or sequel or brand new NieR game that they bring out. Now, let's go ahead and move on to the next topic here, guys. Let's discuss this new Nintendo Switch error code that has been popping up after the massive 20.00 update that put up the virtual game cards and all the different stuff that Nintendo has, prepping you for the Nintendo Switch 2. So the major 20.00 update recently went live, and some users are impacted with an error code 2206-105. Now, this appears to be a worldwide problem, both in the West and in Japan. And if you've come across the error, you might not even be able to start your system. There also appears to be a variation of an error code with 2206-104. Nintendo is aware of this issue and shared the following statement via Twitter. We are currently receiving inquiries from some customers about the occurrence of error code 2206-105 after updating to the Nintendo Switch system version 20.0.0. We are currently investigating how to deal with this issue. We apologize for the inconvenience and ask that you wait for further information. So this was one of the biggest firmware updates ever. It added a ton of new features to get things ready for the next system, but it goes to show you just how feeble things can be. I'm almost positive Nintendo tested this over and over and over on a number of units and probably did this thoroughly and never got an error message. They launched this huge update and all of a sudden there's an error message. I can guarantee you they probably tested this so much and nothing happened. They felt that it was completely safe to do it. Then all of a sudden this happens, right? The error code. So it just goes to show you when you're adding things in or when you're adding new features, you can do everything just right. You can test, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to impact the hardware that's already out there based on a variety of conditions and things going on. So it is what it is there. I updated my Nintendo Switch OLED and had no issue. The update was fast. I was able to get it. There's been no problem whatsoever. I'm not sure if there's a problem whether it's Nintendo Switch Lite systems or if it's Nintendo Switch version 1 or version 2. And I think that's the problem, where you're going to get different errors based off of what type of system you have, when it was manufactured, and different factors in terms of what software you have, certain things that cause a bug, what theme you have, what settings you have, surround sound, not all this different type of stuff can potentially cause any issue at any point. So if you guys are having that same problem, let me know in the comment section below. But now we're going to move on to the final topic here, and we're talking about Nintendo Switch Online with GameCube. Now, we know that Nintendo Switch Online with GameCube games, that is coming launch day. We're going to have Soul Calibur, F-Zero, and more coming to the system. It's exciting. Fire Emblem is coming to the system as well. So I'm very much looking forward to Wind Waker and Soul Calibur and F-Zero and more games that are coming out, because some of these games are going to have online multiplayer, which they never had on the GameCube, which is exciting because there was always a time period where, like, man, this would be nice if I can play this online, but GameCube didn't really do online like that. There were very few online games. So I'm very excited for this because they are adding more titles. There's going to be stuff like Super Mario Strikers, Luigi's Mansion is coming, Pokemon Coliseum, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. I mean, this is definitely a nice lineup just starting out, and I think it's going to add more and more, just like we saw with the other Nintendo Switch Online systems. However, let's talk about what's going on here with the Nintendo Switch Online GameCube controllers. Now, these will first be made available on Nintendo's website between May 8th, 2025 and May 12th, 2025. The date applies to Nintendo Switch 2 early purchase access invitation recipients. The controller will then be sold starting on May 13th to paid Nintendo Switch Online membership holders. You'll be able to grab it if you head over to the website. If you are already part of it, NSO members, you're going to be able to snap up this controller. I have the N64 controller. I might have the Super Nintendo controller. I don't think I have the Genesis controller or other ones, but either way, the N64 controller feels super authentic and nice. I love GameCube. It's one of my favorite systems of all time, so I'm absolutely going to be getting this Nintendo Switch Online GameCube controller. I still think that the Nintendo Switch GameCube controllers that Nintendo released for like Super Smash Bros. Are more like for the Wii U Super Smash Brothers, and then maybe there was some in the Switch era when Ultimate came out, they reprinted some, but I still think that through USB, that controller should work for GameCube games as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if that still works, but if you wanted like a nice new wireless one that adds some of the buttons that weren't for the original one, you can have this one coming out here. And of course, GameCube is just going to be one of those things that's so nostalgic for people out there. Now, I wasn't a child when GameCube came out. That's actually when I was first able to start affording all the different systems, was the 6th gen back in the early 2000s. And I really adore and treasure that generation because it felt exciting to go play games. Everything was on the disc itself. When you went into the game store, there was just so many different games to pick from the original OG Xbox, the PlayStation 2, and GameCube. There was tons of variety and it was a lot of fun. So for me, going back and checking out some of these GameCube games is always going to be awesome. And GameCube is one of those systems that has retained and actually increased the value. It was underappreciated when it came out back in the early 2000s. But if you look at the collectors for the games and you look at what's happening with GameCube, people really cherish how well the games play, the efficiency of the games, the input response and timing. It's all so calculated and great to play, even if you go back and play on the original hardware on a progressive scan TV or something like that. So I'm looking forward to getting back into some GameCube stuff. The original Wind Waker, even though not as good as the Wind Waker HD on the Wii U, still having that, but F-Zero GX, being able to play online with that game, and even Soul Calibur 2, this is the first time that I think that you're going to be able to play the Nintendo GameCube version of that game online with Link without some type of mod or emulation or something like that. That's absolutely very appealing to many hardcore GameCube fans, and I think a lot of Nintendo fans. And once again, they're going to ramp it up with other games as well. It's going to be very exciting to see what else they add to the table outside of Fire Emblem and what they've already announced, which Fire Emblem was great too, because that is a super rare game on the GameCube, and now people are going to be able to play it on the service with no issue once they do drop it. So what do you guys think about everything that we talked about here? There was a lot of different topics from Monolith Soft, brand new NieR game, and more with the error updates. Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you are someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch RPG content and more right here on screen. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.